I take a moment to welcome all of our loved ones and our friends who have joined us by streaming from all the different parts of the world. Welcome to the live streaming of Live International. Today's message is very special to my heart. I believe God has so much to bless you with. But remember, our streaming is purposely for those who live beyond our geographical area. If you live in United States, but you are 2.5 hours away from us, you are privy to join us by streaming. If you live in Europe, any part of Europe, join us. Africa, Asia, South Central America, wherever you are, we believe that this broadcast is just meant for you to be a blessing in your life. And to those of us here, let's join the rest of the world as we hear the word of God at the same time, but yet let's believe that God will bless them just as He's going to bless us here with His word. The message this morning has to deal with baton or running a race. So you can name it passing on the baton. Passing on the baton. Passing on the baton. Now, for the benefit of those who love sports, particularly track and field, baton is something that you are familiar with. And to those who are in business of any kind, or to those who are able to pass the reins on to someone, whatever they give them in transfer is what we call passing on of a baton. When our children go to school, or you go to school, either higher education or any form of education, at the end of your course or your program, if you satisfactorily, if you are able to satisfy the school requirements, and you come out satisfactorily, you receive what you call a diploma. Many times they give it to you wrapped in the form of a baton. What they are saying is, we are giving you what you worked for. Now you use it to finish the race of your life. Baton is important, especially in a race. But I'll tell you interesting things about baton because I love track and field. Whilst you are waiting for the baton, if you like track and field, you stand not just anxious, but you stand and try to make sure that your muscles don't get tensed up. So you just make sure that you do all that you can do to get yourself, just psych yourself into the race. But the race, particularly if it's relay, which has 4 different rounds, one person start. An amazing thing about track and field is they always use the person who can run the fastest to start the race. Then the second one is the one who can maintain the pace. And the third one is one who can maintain but also strike. Then the last one is the one who's got the dashing spirit to make sure. But I'm telling you, I have watched so many races where you see the people, and the amazing thing is, when it comes to this track and field, you don't know who is the underdog because anything can happen in track and field. The amazing thing is, you could be the best athlete. You could be the best runner. And in fact, you can have even broken records in your trials. But when the real race comes, you have to make sure that you are ready. It is not only based on your ability to run, but there's something which is called nature. And if you do not have enough oxygen in your system, your muscles are not flexible enough, you may actually pull muscle, which will actually make a person who has all the things that says he or she is going to be the one to win the race, lose out. And I've seen so many people who may be in the last. Eventually, they come up around and they get to first or second place. And the team that is supposed to win somehow lose. Why? Because in the process of exchanging the baton, someone can be careless and drop the baton. So as fast and as good as you are, if you drop the baton, you lose a second, it is a big deal. Because a race that is being timed, every second counts. Life that is being timed, every second counts. Because the life that we have to live on this earth, it is all on a time. And this time factor is still going. Whether you drop the baton or you hold the baton, you can be upset and not want to go because the person who passed on the baton is not the way he passed on the baton is not the way you wanted to receive it. The end is when you win, everybody wins in a relay. But when you lose, everybody loses. And it's amazing when you're watching track and field and the baton is being passed. I have seen it many times with amazement. I love track and field. It is amazing when they are running the relay, and the United States of America is one of the best teams. So is Jamaica. Every parent is supposed to pass on baton to the children. Our nation is passing on baton to its generation. Every church happens, business happens, everything we do, it's a baton in our hands, but we have to find the right people to pass this baton on to. Let me be honest with you. There are so many people who have failed. They turn their successes into failure, not intentionally, but because whilst they ran better races and good races, they didn't have people who are being trained in the process to take over from them. I know businessmen and businesswomen who have actually attained great heights of success, but their greatest concern is this. Guess what? I may have to sell this business. Why do you have to sell it? It's a very lucrative business because my son and my daughter, they're not interested in it. My children don't like it. They don't want it. But this is the business you had which educated them. This is the business you had which gave them the home they lived in. This is the business you had which gave them the ticket to travel the world over. This is the business you had which gave them their first car, second car, third cars. This is what you had to give them the comfort they so enjoy. But I got to shut it down because my children don't have any interest in it. I have seen it so many times over. And people are forced to sell businesses or forced to give up a dream which has helped and saved many generations before. There are so many leadership that comes about in a nation. A nation will do great under one leader, and another leader takes the country in a different direction. It happens in business. It happens in the family. It happens in the church. It happens in any institution of the world. So the important thing is, who is holding your baton? Or who has passed on the baton to you? And how are you holding this baton? Those who run races and actually in the lead, that accidentally drops the baton, when they lose, often they shed tears because they feel that what they've trained for all these years has come to nothing because of a mistake that one makes. The mistake that you make doesn't affect you only. It affects the people on your team. So there's nothing like personal mistake. The mistake you make affects others down the road. I have seen mistakes that fathers had made, which has had a rippling effect on the children's children's children. So fathers, be careful how you navigate your life. The fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. Mothers have made some mistakes, and the one little mistake they made accidentally is having negative impact on their children. Even though you will live to run another race, but you lose time because your life in a race is determined by time, the time you have and the time you make. And your goal is not to run within the time you have. You want to improve upon the time that you have made. That is why I've always said that every athlete does not necessarily run in challenge to win a race, but you run to make sure that you improve upon your last performance. No one who runs a race wants to maintain, because if you don't maintain your record or break your record, somebody will break your record and you will never be remembered. It is the record that you maintain or the record you keep breaking that sets you apart. It's all have to do with the passing on of the baton. Listen, I have known many people, their parents are amazing. Parents, incredible musicians. They're no longer in music. Parents have transitioned. And the children are today beggars, begging on the street. Why? Because they did not value the baton in their home, and they did not extend themselves to take the baton and run with it. You have royals walking on foot and slaves riding on horsebacks. You have success people whose children have internalized it to be failure, and those who grew up in failure making a success out of their lives. It's all within timing, and everything you do as a baton has to do with timing. Do you know the time that we're in? Do you know the season that we are in? And do you know how to take this baton to another level? I have seen many of these in my lifetime. I've seen families that were once upon a time recognized because of achievements of grandparents, but because the children did not value the time their foreparents put into an industry, into a work, into a project, these children take it for granted. And when the parents are no longer around, they struggle because they've wasted time that they could have used to do something effective for their lives. Passing on of the baton. I want to just share some few thoughts with you. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2. Paul was speaking to Timothy, and he made a very important statement. And I wanted to hear what he says to Timothy. And he says, "And the things that you have heard from me, among many witnesses." The same things you've heard from me among witnesses. What I want you to do, son, is this. Commit these things to faithful men who will be able to teach others. The things you've learned from me, don't let it go to waste. Teach others. Son, find people and teach. There are certain trades, there are certain business, there are certain things that our foreparents did. But today, some of them have become obsolete because, again, the children or the people who worked within that sphere no longer have interest to continue what has happened. And as a result, a good industry, a profit center, a benefit to the family, to communities, to nations, go to waste because nobody is there to take over, to do what needs to be done. Passing on of the baton. Listen, may I say it again? Nothing on this earth is forever. Everything has its expiration date, and I've been teaching and saying this for a while now. Everything has expiration date. Do what you can do and do what you have to do now that you have the energy, the strength, and ability to do it in. Young people, seek after God. Look after your Creator. Go after Him whilst it is time, because the time is coming when you will have no pleasure in the very things that you pursued, but yet you don't know how to find a way back to where you left off. For those of you today who are no longer active doing the things God wants you to do, listen to me. There will come a time you will wish you could do the things that you push to the side, but you don't have the strength to carry it out. Make use of what you have today. A time is coming when no man shall be able to work. Don't use your energy for pleasure only. It's good to enjoy pleasure, but let it be for a season. But make sure that you put in place what God has put in you, because the baton is passed to you. Use it effectively. Don't turn it into just fat. Use the muscle to do what muscle does. But a muscle that does not do what it's supposed to do becomes what? Fat. There are those who may not take this as important. They just want the baton to keep dropping so that they never get any trophy in life. Now, I was one person that thought all along, like many people do in my little world, that I am going to do something a little different than I've seen around me. Because I do believe that even though I don't have the experience yet, I still have the capacity to learn, the ability to do what I've not done before, and at least the confidence to try for the first time. I will not sit around and wait for the perfect timing, because there's nothing like a perfect timing. You've got to do what you have to do when you have to do it, because a timing may be called, you may be called upon a timing to do what you have to do. And you can be disqualified even in the timing of your best training if you do not keep your focus where it needs to be. How do you maintain the baton? And how do you pass on a baton? We all know the story of King David. I love the story of David so much. And when I hear Christians, when I hear preachers, and I hear individuals talk about the sins and the trouble of David, I say to them, you better shut up, because in the midst of all of this, David, like Abraham, was a man after the heart of God. Don't dwell on the negative to judge him. Dwell on the outcome of David. The city of David is still there. And the people of Israel acknowledge their roots through the city, through King David, the king. Let's understand that David was a young man who happened to befriend Jonathan, the son of the first king of Israel, by the choice of the people for a king. Jonathan loved David so much that he saw qualities in David that the baton that is supposed to be his to ascend to a throne to be the second king of the king, he was able to pass the baton on at the right timing to someone who can do the race and make sure that the people of Israel receive a permanent award from God that they have passed. Amen. David, through his efforts and the training with Goliath, with the lions and the bear, qualified him to get the baton from his dearest friend, Jonathan. It is the things you do to help humanity, to help the company you are part of, the team you are part of, to win, that will give you the baton that you need to stand on the post and have your national anthem sung and the flag be lowered in honoring of your achievement. This is what set David apart. He got the baton from Jonathan, but he knew so well that the baton should never go back into the house of Jonathan. The baton had to stay in his home. So in the process of all of the children he had one by name Solomon. And he realized all through it in his heart, something so deep in his heart was to do something significant for God. I want to do something for God, he says. I want to build God the temple that he so desires. I know God is always looking for a place to put his foot as the stool, resting place, and a place where God can sit majestically on his throne, or the throne of the hearts of his people, so he can govern his nations. David said, I want to build God that. But David was also a warrior. David fought. He defended his people, and he shed blood. So God's interest is this. I want a temple built, but I don't want somebody who has blood in his hands to build me the temple. But yet it was in David's heart to do it. The fact that it was in his heart to do it, and yet because of the blood in his hands for which he couldn't do, David will not sit and say, well, if I'm not going to do it, if I can't do it, then it will never be done. David was smart enough to say, I may be disqualified because of the blood in my hand, but I'm not going to let the baton drop. Who am I going to give the baton to in my home to take on the work and run with it? I ask you this question. Who in your home, who in your company, who in your nation, who in your church, who in your business can you trust, even though you may not be qualified to go deeper to the next place, that you are ready to give the baton to so that they can finish the work that you are all supposed to do together? Some people say, if I'm not going to do it, I will make sure nobody does it. What you have done is that you've hindered your entire children's children. You have eaten sour grapes, and your children's teeth will be set on edge. The fact that you don't want to finish it doesn't mean you should not give the baton to somebody else to finish it. David was disqualified, but that was not to David a sign of halting. It is a sign of passing on this baton. 1 Chronicles chapter 28. Quickly, let me go through this. 1 Chronicles chapter 28. I want to read this very fast as I can. And please come along with me as I read. Then King David rose to his feet and said, hear me, my brethren and my people. I had in my heart to build a house of rest for the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and for the footstool of our God, and has made preparation to build it. I've made preparation to build it. This is what I want to do, but I've actually prepared myself to do this. My mind is made up. My resources have been gathered. My heart is in the right place. I want to do this for God. And he says something. But God said to me, you shall not build a house for my name, because you have been a man of war and have shed blood. However, the Lord God of Israel chose me above all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. Through Jonathan, remember? For he has chosen Judah to be the ruler. And of the house of Judah, the house of my father, and among the sons of my father, he was pleased with me to make me king over all Israel. And of all my sons, for the Lord has given me many sons, he has chosen my son Solomon to sit on the throne of the kingdom of the Lord over Israel. Now he said to me, it is your son Solomon who shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. Solomon was born illegitimate, if I may use that term. Solomon was born out of wedlock. Solomon was born by the father's pleasures. But the child is not to be faulted. A father's error is a blessing in disguise. A child accidentally born is a blessing given from God. Don't look at any child as a curse. Look at a child as a door opener, one who can secure your future and give you hope in the midst of it all. So for the sake of those of you who feels the fact that you don't know your father, or you don't know your mother, or you don't know who you are, disqualifies you for doing something extraordinary that those who are qualified to do it will ask you to do. David was willing to let his son build the court of the house. Now he said to me, it's your son Solomon, verse 6, who shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I'll be his father. Now look at God transferring the same blessing, honor, favor of David to his son Solomon. Verse 7, moreover, I will establish his kingdom forever, but this is the condition. If he is steadfast to observe the commandments and my judgment, as it is this day. Now, therefore, it is in the sight of all Israel, the assembly of the Lord, and in the hearing of our God. Be careful, son, to seek out all the commandments of the Lord your God, that you may possess this good land and leave it as an inheritance for your children after you forever. You see, everything we do, there should be procession. Everything we do, there should be successes. There should be people who will come behind us and take what we have started to another height. Do something. Leave a mark. At least, if you have a land and you don't have the drawings yet, or you have the drawings and you don't have the foundation yet, give the drawing to your children and let them better it, increase it, navigate it, and make use of it. But some people say, if it is not me, it's not I, no one else will come to this. He is saying it will come as a blessing to your children's forever. If you read verse 10 quickly, I want to jump down. In fact, verse 9, as for you, my son Solomon, know the God of your father and serve him with a loyal heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts and understands all the intent of the thoughts. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will cast you off forever. May I say this to every one of you. If your father or mother has done great things for God, and you choose to continue in the stead of your parents, do it right. But if you choose not to do it, you will be broke and hungry in your life. If you forsake your father's God or your mother's God, you will struggle. If you like, try. Let me say it again. If you forsake your father and your mother's God, you will struggle. If you have been trained, spoon-fed, and there's a business, company that your parents work for, and they give you the company, and you choose not to make use of it, you will lose it all and be a beggar. Don't take for granted the opportunities and the baton which is passed on to you. Reach your hand out. Don't snatch the baton. Let your hand and the baton meet. And when the baton is released in your hands, then you take and run as far as you can. There are people God brings into your life. You may have a worse upbringing, negative upbringing, less value, less self-esteem, and God brings people into your life to give you the baton that your father was supposed to give you, the baton that your mother was supposed to give you. God sent them into your life to give you the baton. Don't you insult them, and don't put pepper spray in their eyes, lest they will lose direction in giving the baton and drop it to wipe the pepper off their face. There are some of us who put pepper in the face of those who are giving us baton. So instead of us taking the baton drops, and we're still trying to rinse or take the pepper spray which has scorched our eyes. When somebody is feeding you, don't slap them, because if you do, they'll bite you. Consider now verse 10, for the Lord has chosen you to build a house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it. Well, David was saying to his son, who has not even read the blueprint yet. David is saying this to his son, who is not qualified to be a king yet. He says that what God is asking me to do in my position, I'm asking you who is not qualified yet to do it. I am in the forefront holding the baton, but I'm telling you that you are going to be the one to what? Finish the race. Some people build and other finishes. Some people start and other finishes. Some people wash and others dry. That's the way God does it.
Thank you very much for watching, and on behalf of Life International, we wish you God's very best. It is our hope, our prayer, and desire to inspire you regularly and make sure that you succeed in every area of your life. We would like to give you an opportunity to contribute to Life International so that our broadcast can reach many more around the world. Continue watching, share us, and mention us to all of your friends. Thank you so much, and God bless you.